Welcome to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast, where we share tips, techniques, and true stories to support you in using the law of attraction and alchemy to create magic and live the life of your dreams. Here's your host, the founder of dailyalchemy.com, Michelle Martin Dobbins.
Hi there, it's Michelle Martin Dobbins, and welcome to another episode of Adventures in Alchemy. And today I want to share with you I think it's one of my highest ranking blog posts on the blog, dailyalchemy.com. And on this blog post, I talk about how to learn how to love something about yourself that you hate, and more focusing on body parts. In fact, my post is called How to Fall in Love with Your Nose or Anything You Hate. I, as a child, always hated my nose. Actually, that was probably as more like a tween, even though that word didn't exist back then. Was not comfortable with it. It was too long, had a slight bump, and then it didn't help me. I had some boys who called me Barry, as in Barry Manilow, saying that I look like Barry Manilow in drag when I was in high school. And I was like bound and determined. I would grow up, I would get a job, I would make money, I would get a new nose. I would buy it. I would buy a nose job. And to me, right now, in this point in time in my life, that sounds really funny that I was there and that's where I was. And if you're there with some body part, as some part of yourself, I'm going to tell you how to change that, because now I love my nose. And even though other people may not, it's okay. And other people may, and no big deal either way. So when I started on this spiritual path, I began working on self-love a lot. And, as I was older, I didn't really think about my nose that much, but I definitely did not like it. I did not see it as a positive thing. And these are the steps that it took for me to change my feelings about my nose and learn to love it. And the first one is get neutral. So it's really hard to go from hate to love. I mean, that's kind of a big leap right there. So if you have something you don't like, your nose, your toes, your thighs, try to get okay with it. Decide that it's not a big deal. And it's really not. We all have things, some more than others, that we judge as imperfect, but really our imperfections are what make us unique and wonderful. And actually, they're not imperfections. They're just unique aspects of ourselves. Okay, second step, increase love for other aspects of yourself. So, even though I didn't love my nose, I mostly just ignored it, didn't focus hate on it, but I decided to focus and look and love my blue eyes, which I've always liked. And so I would look in the mirror and look at my eyes and flow love there and flow love to other parts of my body that were easy for me to love. And then I decided that I would look at my nose through someone else's eyes. This is step 3. Look at whatever, your nose, your ears, your toes, through someone else's eyes. I imagine that my parents must think my nose was just fine. And it's a family trait. It's very similar to the shape of my dad. So it shows that I'm related to him, and he probably likes that. My husband married me, so he must think that it's just fine. I think that all of my children have beautiful, perfect noses on their faces, so I decided to look at my nose as I thought my parents or my love would. And that didn't always do the trick. And then I would think of, I use the term God, and, you could use a different one, but I would look at myself through God's eyes and think how perfectly lovely God thought my nose was. And all of those steps helped. And I still didn't really love my nose, but I was learning to deal with it better. And so the fourth step is to love something about your nose or your toes or your thighs, whatever part you can love. About my nose, I just looked at it and I noticed that it on the end had almost a heart shape to it. And I decided to enjoy that little part of my nose. And, you can look at maybe you think your ears might be a little Vulcan-ish if you're into Star Trek, and that's kind of cool. Or, your feet keep you, standing upright, and how wonderful that is. Whatever part of you don't like, find something about it to to like, some reason to like it. And there's always a reason, even if it's a little one. Even if you have to stretch it a little bit. And then step number 5 is to flow the love. Really just love that part of yourself as much as you possibly can. And if you've done the first 4 steps, number 5 kind of comes automatically over time. So I know that when I did this, I found that other people would say things positive about my nose. And to me, that was a first, because I was used to being a school teacher and little kids would say, "Your nose is big." And, they're very honest. Yes, it is. It's not the smallest nose, but it works for me. And I'm happy with it on my face. But I noticed that my daughter had talked about a picture of me that was sketched, and it's hanging on her wall. And she said, "You should be angry at the man who drew this. Your nose is way cuter than he sketched it," which I thought was really sweet. And it happened after I learned how to love my nose. So when you learn to love all of you, it's so much easier for others to share their love with you. They may have loved all of you all along, but you're not going to pick up on that because you're resisting it and you're blocking it. So that's my take on how to learn to love part of you that you don't. And don't beat yourself up. It's a step-by-step process. And, sometimes we want to say, it's kind of silly not to love all of ourselves. We know how important self-love is, but some of these messages have been rooted in us from childhood that we're not okay because we're different. And we are okay, and we're all different. So take the time if you need to. If you have part of yourself that you don't like, go through this process. Learn to love it. And that sounds kind of harsh, learn to love it. But no, go through the process and feel the joy of loving yourself. That's probably a better way to put it. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you've had to work through any body image issues, I would love for you to share about it. You can send me an email, a tweet, a Facebook post. If you go to dailyalchemy.com, in the upper right-hand corner, there are little circles that you can click on to get to my Facebook, my Twitter, to send me an email. And I would love to hear from any of you listeners. And I would also love it if you would give me a rating on Stitcher or iTunes and let me know how I'm doing and let me know what you'd like to hear more of. Have a wonderful day. Make it a magical one. Namaste.
Thanks for listening to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast. Connect with me on thedailyalchemy.com or Facebook at facebook.com/Michelle Dobbins, author. Join us next time for even more magical life tips.